It has been 20 years since Shad released his debut album, When This Is Over, the record that started his career to becoming one of Canada's most beloved artists. And in the last 2 decades since then, he's accomplished a whole lot. In 2011, he took home the Juno Award for Rap Recording of the Year. He's been shortlisted for the Polaris Music Prize 5 times, making him the most shortlisted artist in Polaris history. Not only was he putting out music during this time, you also might remember that he hosted this show. Then he went on to do the documentary series Hip Hop Evolution for HBO, which won an Emmy and a Peabody Award. He has a new record called Start Anew, and it's out on October 31st. And on this new album, he's going back sort of sonically to the playfulness of those early days in his career. But lyrically, it's a very deep, it's a very profound record that I have a lot of questions about. So it's a good thing that Shad is with me now to talk about all of it. How are you?
Thanks for that, Tom. Good to see you.
Nice to see you too. You doing good?
I'm doing great. I can't complain.
Halloween record release.
Yeah, there's nothing spooky about the album. It's just...
No, listen, I don't want to give people the impression that there's ghost towns.
No, I wish I could make a great Halloween song. Every time I'm handing out candy, I fire up a Halloween playlist. I'm like, this playlist is light. There's not enough great.
No, there's the Monster Mash.
There's Monster Mash and Thriller. And even Thriller's a bit of a reach, frankly.
You can't really do... Yeah, I don't really want to hear Thriller on Halloween. And then there's like sound, I used to go to people's houses and they would have like Disney sound effect records.
Yes.
And it would just be like, woo.
Not enough. And in the streaming era, like that's big money if you can make a great Halloween track. That's a smart idea for somebody.
Sounds like you should do it and you should have an auto harp on it. and I'm right here. Bash is too expensive. Let's listen to a track off the new record.
The goal is ego death every time that I rhyme. Trying to kill the false self, any pride that's inside. Destroy the places my reputation's trying to hide. Burn the lies and disguises, burn the past and the mask. Cause life can only survive when they find their demise. When I'm eclipsed, but I still keep my eyes to the skies. When my ideas die, then my mind is alive. Every album I've been trying to die.
Every album I've been trying to die. That's Happiness from Shad. The album, there was talk that the album was going to be called Fear of Death.
Yeah, the whole album, I was thinking about endings. I was looking out at our world and trying to figure out what's going on, as usual, as we all are. And I was thinking maybe what's going on is that we feel the tension of being at this interesting point where we're at the conclusion of a few things, certain ways of life, certain ways of thinking. And there's a tension to that because it's always hard to close a chapter and step into something new. So just to give an example, the climate and the crisis that we're in, right? I think most of us recognize that at this point. But what does that mean? Well, it means we can't do things the same way. It means we can't do things the way that we used to. And there's a tension that comes with that. And a lot of debate and discussion and defensiveness. So I was thinking a lot about endings, Tom, and the challenge of confronting endings. That's a lot of what I was thinking about with this album.
I might add the internet. You and I came up in a time and I'm sort of grasping in a futile way at trying to hold on to the pre-internet ways.
Yeah.
And I lock my phone up and I put it away in a lockbox, but I have to, like I'm a smoker quitting. I lock myself out of Instagram to try but sometimes it does feel like I am trying to push away a waterfall, or a tidal wave, and it does feel like there's a change coming, or the change is here because of the internet as well.
But doesn't that feel empowering when you do that? So my wife and I, we just started after 5 o'clock, keeping our phones upstairs. I'm struggling a bit with it, but my wife loves it. She feels empowered by that, by just knowing that she has the ability to do that, to make that change, to embark on a new way of doing things. What do you think? How's it felt for you?
I met someone at a retreat one time who I went to a silent meditation retreat, and which I like to remind people whenever I can. I'll mention it at the Blue Jays game. I don't really need to be here. I asked the really esteemed teacher at the end of the retreat when we were allowed to talk. I have a really hard time going on my phone. Do you have any recommendations? And he said, be mindful of when you why you feel the urge to go on your phone. Be mindful of the feelings and the sensations within your body that cause you to go to your phone, and try to keep it out of your hands most of the time, and plug it in one place of the house. This was a relatively shishi meditation retreat because it was in California.
Nice.
And thank you. And one of the people there said, "Hi, I don't mean to, but I work for Meta. I work for Facebook, and we pay." What did she say? Something like, "We pay people far too much money to think that you can have willpower. You need to have something." So that's why I started using lock boxes, and that's why I started actually keeping it away from me, because my willpower is not enough.
Yeah, I think we need a communal ethic. The individual willpower is not enough. We need a kind of a communal ethic, in other words, regulation.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's yet another thing that I think we need to do differently. We need to embark on this a bit of a different journey that feels new, a new approach to technology, because we've always, I think we have the view of technology and technological progress that this is something you should never impede, you should never put limits on. And yet in our individual lives, like you're just describing, we do put limits on technology and all sorts of things. And maybe it is a time to embark on a larger scale in terms of communal ethic or regulation on curbing, limiting, regulating some of these technologies and our uses of them.
The way we've done it with newspapers in the past, and the way we've done it with television stations.
Exactly.
Are any of these, and not to be macabre, are any of these endings you've been thinking about on this record your own, aka aging?
Yeah. Aging, for sure. And when you have kids, as you now have, congratulations. You definitely think about life differently. You think about the trajectory of your own life and whenever the end is going to be of your own life. And also in terms of career. I work in music, extremely precarious, and there's risk involved. There's risk involved even if your career isn't precarious. I think it's a job, the social function of artists, to model risk and courage, to take chances, to follow our hearts, to be vulnerable, to be silly, and to do that literally on a stage, on a platform, and model that for people. So yeah, I was thinking about this on that kind of societal level, but also on a very personal level as well, in terms of my own mortality and the mortality of my career and all of that.
Let's talk a little bit about 20 years is wild, hey, I feel like saying that out loud feels wild.
Yeah.
20 years since the first record. Let's go back even further than that. So born in Kenya after a year, to Rwanda, and then to London, Ontario. I read that when you came to London, your dad started the African Association of London.
Yeah, you just nardwared me right there. That's a deep cut. He did.
You're Shad. We have to know. Well, why did he do that?
Yeah. So I actually think the impetus was Professor Philip Rushton. I'm not sure if he's passed away, but he was a professor at Western University, formerly called the University of Western Ontario in London, Ontario. And he was publishing these papers about race and intelligence and these really racist, inflammatory things.
Oh, sort of those sort of like awful old.
Oh yeah, we're talking 19th century phrenology type stuff.
Phrenology, measuring the brain of the. Yeah, right. Of course.
Oh yeah. This guy was, card carrying.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Anyways, so my dad was thinking, listen, we need to have some support in place for other Africans, other Black people in the city that come to Canada, come to London, Ontario, in large part to get an education, and yet might find themselves in these spaces where this is literally the studies coming out of this school is saying that we're inferior in terms of intellect. So he wanted to create this community of support. And he started the African Association of London, Ontario, which is funny because Africa is a very big continent. And so, there's actually not that much commonality between, say, I don't know, people from different parts of the continent. But there is this common thread in terms of we need to support each other. We need to, just support each other. So he started that. He's a leader. And once there were enough Africans and people from the diaspora from different countries, different communities, they formed their own cultural communities, and that sort of disbanded. And my dad started up the Rwandan Association of Canada, and he was president of that for a while. So he's a he's a leader and he looks out for the community. But that's a long answer. I'm sorry, but that was the impetus.
You know, I don't mind a long answer.
Cool.
When you were, I guess when you were 10, 11 or so, it was the Rwandan genocide, and I saw you say something really interesting about that, because obviously you were so young.
Yeah.
It's hard to know, how you feel about it or what you remember about it. But there was one thing you did say that stuck out to me. I read an interview. You talked about when that happened. I went from being a black kid in my school to an African kid in my school to a Rwandan kid in my school.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, it's this thing of identity and how people understand who you are and understand where you come from. Rwanda is a tiny country that was not in the news prior to that event. So, yeah, this evolving understanding of me, of who I am, of my identity. Yeah, I was 11 or 12 years old. There's a lyric I wrote. I said, one time after family ties, I turned on the news and saw my family die. Pop said it's murder in the motherland and things about colonialism I didn't understand. Just trying to talk about what that experience is like. You're 11, you're into the Blue Jays. They were on their last, World Series run. This is sort of your world, or was my world in London, Ontario, and yet there was also this other thing that's happening that, is a crisis in my own family, in my community, and also, to your point, people are recognizing this is where our buddy Shad is from.
Yeah, they're hearing about it in the news. They're hearing about it on the radio.
Yeah, this is. I've heard him mention that that's where his family's from, but I'd never heard anything about it. Oh, this is that place. So, just all those things. Just part of everyone growing up is confusing for everybody in their own way.
Yeah,
and that's how it was confusing and interesting for me.
Let's talk about some of the musical origins.
Yeah.
Can we play some music here? Doot-doodle-loot-doot.
You went from nardwaring me to out-nardwaring me. Nardwar. Yeah.
Tell me what we're listening to. I can tell you the name of the group if you don't know the name of the group.
It's Les Huit Anges.
Yeah, Les Huit Anges is right.
Orchestre, yeah. So this is a story I just heard about recently. So that song that was just playing was a popular song in Rwanda in the 70s. Everybody knew that song, apparently. But what people just found out in the last couple of years is that my aunt wrote that song.
No way.
My aunt wrote that song. She was young, and she wrote that song for her friend, and she would sing it around the neighborhood. Became a little folk song around the neighborhood. All the kids would sing it. Everybody kind of knew that song. And then I think my mom and her sister, Rita, who wrote that song, moved on to another area. This Les Huit Anges Orchestra, Belgian. Yeah, they came to Rwanda. They heard people singing this song, this folk song, and they recorded a version, and it became very popular. But nobody knew until a couple of years ago that my aunt, who's now close to 80, retired nurse, wrote that song.
Did she know? Like, did your family know?
She knew. My mom knew. My mom actually swears that my aunt's original version is better.
Have you heard it?
I haven't. I mean, there's no recorded version.
Okay,
you just have my aunt singing it. But she was, she was interviewed on the radio in Rwanda all about it, and when it was discovered that she was the original author of the song.
So there's music in the family.
I guess so. When we came to Canada, it was just my family, my immediate family, my two younger aunts. My mom's younger sisters came to live with us. But that's the only family that we had, immediate family. My grandma came at a certain point. That was the only immediate family we had in Canada. So I never got to know much of my family history and never got to know what talents existed. I heard that my mother's brother, who passed away in the genocide, was a lovely singer. But I never really got to know much of that.
There's no precedent. There's no, for you.
No, there's no precedent. Well, my mom loves art. She loves poetry. She loves drama. But music was just a hobby for people in my family. I'm not sure what it's like for your family, but no one really imagined a career in music. That wasn't really something anybody thought was possible. Like when my grandma found out I was making music for a living, she compared it to, she's like, oh, that's like playing Duck, Duck, Goose professionally.
Yeah.
Like, she was like, how is that even possible? Like, this is just a thing people do. It's what kids do. And I think that's a beautiful view, actually, of music, that this is just something anybody can do and everybody participates in. But anyways, all that to say, I guess there's no precedent in terms of making music professionally, for sure. I was around 19 or 20 and I sat down and wrote something. For the first time, I like recognized myself in it.
Do you remember what it was?
I don't remember what it was, but I remember going, it might have been one of those songs on that album, like Out of Love or something, where I was like, I remember looking at it and going, I don't think I've heard someone say this or say this in this way. This is really me and my experiences and my emotional landscape and my lived experiences. And then it was kind of over. Like I was in school to study business but I caught the bug in that moment. It was like, this is so exciting to be able to capture my own experience in music. I didn't know if it was good, but I knew it was me. And that set me on this journey that I'm still on.
It must have been gratifying to people liked the record. People were listening to the record. That doesn't usually happen with a record you make in university.
No, exactly.
It doesn't happen to anybody.
Yeah. No, I was really fortunate because at that time it was really prohibitive to be able to record an album, just in terms of the cost. And so to win this contest that was put on by the local radio station in Kitchener-Waterloo, where I was going to school, that paid for that album to be made.
That record comes out, you start getting a little bit of buzz, then the next record comes out and it gets even bigger. Just take a listen to this.
Yo, I live at home still, not paying phone bills, hydro or rent, and my mom makes most meals. So it's so ill, I don't need no skrill, only cash for gas when I borrow my folks' wheels. But you can't drive, whatever, our van died. Get a good bite. Man, who I look like, that Lance guy? I ain't pushing open Hennessy, looking like some 8-year-old kid on your grandma street. You can go ahead, call me lazy.
I just want to point out, if you're listening to this, that Shad is, like, I think cringing a little bit.
Oh, definitely.
That's the Old Prince Still Lives at Home from Shad's record, The Old Prince. What's going on? What's going on in your brain, buddy?
Oh man, making that album.
What's going through your mind?
Okay, I'll tell you what's going through my mind is, like any of us, I think when we look back at our old selves, I'm trying to be kind,
generous.
I'm trying to be generous. Yeah, that was me at 24, 25 years old, and having fun, a lot of fun with music and writing this song about living at home with my parents as I was at that time.
Being cheap.
And I just having fun and really loving the feeling of writing stuff that made people laugh and felt exciting, especially in like a live setting. And again, felt unique to me, felt a little bit different. It wasn't exactly what people were doing in rap songs in 2007. They weren't really talking too much about living at home with their parents and that sort of thing. So it just felt like, yeah, this is something different. This is something different that I can offer.
Is that the record that Kanye was listening to?
Kanye posted.
I should say,
yeah,
this is old Kanye.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. But he posted on his blog when he had his, we're going back in internet eras, when he had his blog where he would post cool stuff. I'm guessing it was him that was posting, but it might not have been. He might have had an army of kids working on it. But yeah, he shared a song from that album. So that was really quite a fun time. Quite a fun time. That was the album that allowed me to have a career. So that was a really fun time of moving forward and feeling a sense of progress and being able to share my music more broadly. Yeah.
That's the album that allowed me to have a career, is something I just want to stay on for a second, because I've always known you privately as well, to speak more about art or broadcasting or any of these things as sort of less of a career and more of like a vocation. But I would love to talk about the career part. Like, when do you sort of realize, okay, this is what I'm going to try and do for my life? Yeah. And you do seem to be someone who has thought about that differently than a lot of people I know.
I remember an experience I had back when I was working on, before actually I was working on my first album. I was at Laurier. I was a student there, and I was wrestling with this idea of, am I an artist or not?
What does that mean?
You know, when you're young and you're like, am I an artist or am I like not an artist, or am I,
Yeah.
I was really wrestling with that because, like I said, I'd finally written some stuff where I that made me really excited, that made me feel like, wow, I'm articulating something that's unique to me. So I'm like, man, am I an artist? Does this mean I'm an artist? And then I realized, as I was walking to school one day, I don't know what made me realize it, but I realized I don't need to answer that question. I just need to commit to making the thing I want to make.
The next thing I want
the
to make.
next thing I want to make.
That's all it is.
And I was like, oh, And that's what I've kind of done ever since. But to your question about when I said this allowed me to have a career, that was the album where I finally sort of had an audience across the country that I could play for and a little bit elsewhere, and I could support myself. But I was always trying to take steps in that direction and just kind of hoping that's how it would unfold in terms of a career for me. But I still have that mindset of not putting a label over my own head, allowing other people to do that, and just committing to the next thing that either I really feel compelled to make or is an exciting opportunity that's been brought to me that I feel like I can contribute to. That's still how I move through work and career.
The record after that, TSOL, is a very big record for you. That was sort of the record I think that I got on board with.
Cool.
That record in 2011 wins Rap Recording of the Year in a very talked about night.
Yes.
Can we talk about it?
Of course.
That night is the night that I think Drake is hosting.
So the night I won was not when he was hosting, but it was the year he was hosting.
You won at the gala.
Yeah, exactly. It's the year he was hosting.
And he was the year that he was hosting the awards. Can you tell me what you remember about winning that, about that time? I love that you said yep in the middle of it. I'm excited to hear what you're going to say.
Well,
and what changes after that, too? I want to know.
Yeah. So go to the gala. I think I performed at the gala.
The gala, for people who don't know, is the night before the actual big Stadium Juno Awards. Most of the awards are given out. Almost all of them are given out.
Correct.
And it's just kind of musicians and industry folks hanging out and eating dinner and getting drunk.
That's right. So I think I performed that night, which was fun. And then I sat down at my table. I remember Chromeo was at my table, and I was excited to meet them. And I was excited to eat my dinner. As you said, that's what we do on the Saturday night. All the awards are handed out, and you get a nice plate. I'm eating my roast beef. And the rap category is announced. I did not think for a second that I would win. At this point, Drake is the music industry. But back then, he was huge. So I was just happy to have my roast beef, meet Chromeo. And then they announced that I'd won. And I don't remember what I said. I went up. I didn't have a speech, obviously. But I do remember leaving the gala. So then after you win and you have your little trophy and you leave the big room to go do some interviews. And I left the room. As soon as I closed the door and with my manager, we both looked at each other and burst out laughing. And we fell on the floor laughing.
Why?
Neither of us expected. We were like, what's happening? So we were like, let's get up there and do these interviews before they take it back.
A lot of ink spilled around that win that year?
That's right.
How was that for you?
Oh, I didn't mind at all. I didn't mind at all. Like, I don't make music for, most people don't make music for awards. Winning them, losing them. I've lost way more than I've won. So to me, it's neither here nor there.
Does it change anything going forward? Does it do that thing that the Radio 3 did, that thing that, you mentioned, getting an opportunity. Does it do that? Does it go to a different level? Yeah.
Definitely led to some more opportunities. But the thing that I really loved about it was I went on tour almost the day after that. And it was just so fun to sort of celebrate that with all my fans. It was just like a different energy in all those rooms. It was like, hey, like these people all bought tickets before that. And so I remember that tour feeling like, hey, look at what we did together and in these small clubs in Canada where I've spent a lot of my working life. That was really cool.
What strikes me about your story, man, is that from the very beginning, you were wondering about the why of what you're doing. Like you're wondering about the why of what you're doing about, am I an artist or am I not an artist? And the answer sort of exists within the tension of this thing. We were talking about the idea of there being a vocation, even going all the way back to your dad, like starting this organization because he felt like he had a vocation to do it.
Yeah.
One of the things about doing this show that I have found is that I think a lot of people ask me, and I know a lot of people ask you, and I believe I have asked you as a musician, when you talk to other musicians or other artists like you did on this show on Q or you did with Hip Hop Evolution, do you learn something from them that makes it back into your music?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. I play fiddle bass. Like I don't know how much the films of Martin Scorsese are making it into the. But I have felt like I have gained either like perspective or wisdom, I might even say, or I've gotten new answers to why through talking to some of the people on the show. Can you relate to that? Can you think specifically of anyone you talked to that gave you a different why or gave you a different road to go down?
Yeah, I think I relate to that experience, Tom. It's nothing goes directly into the music from talking to Denzel Washington or something like that. As fun as it is,
yeah.
I think what goes into the music is the fun of it, is that renewed inspiration. I think that's what I felt. Like I remember working on an album called A Short Story About a War while working on Hip Hop Evolution. And I was just never burnt out in the studio. I don't know how you feel when you go to recording, but I'd imagine you're excited to be in the studio because you're like, I'm not here every second of every day kind of bashing my head against the wall trying to get this hi-hat sound the way that I want it. You're like, I was just having this really inspiring conversation with Paul Simon, and now I'm excited and I'm happy and I'm energized. So that's what it's been for me. I don't think I gleaned anything, musical.
No, not musical. I mean,
Okay.
I'll give you my example and see if you can relate to it.
Yeah.
Like, I have noticed that the great greats like the Bono and Bruce Springsteen were 15 minutes early.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, they were. Bono was late, but he called ahead and said he was going to be late, and then gave books to everybody. Like Bono and Bruce Springsteen and the great ones are prepared and early.
Yeah.
And I went like, oh yeah, that's not a coincidence.
That makes sense.
They also anything like that from hip hop or from Q or anything like that.
I can tell you, I remember a conversation actually with Paul Simon. And he was talking about his own musical education and what he came up, because he's older than people realize.
Yeah.
He started in the 50s.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how he knows and loves like English folk music and also the blues and early rock and roll. And I was like, oh, wow. Those are the two main trees off the trunk, in terms of popular music. Like that's why this guy can write Bridge Over Troubled Waters or whatever, go in all these different directions musically that he's gone in, because he's really close to the trunk. He's really close to the root. He knows where all of this popular music comes from the blues and folk music that came over. And so that caused me to think a lot about, wow, there's a lot of value in studying. There's a lot of value in really understanding the roots, and understanding this is why so many, again, of the great artists are great. I think about Tribe Called Quest or Outkast and how they used to sample records and then also bring in those session musicians that played on the records they're sampling to play as well.
Right.
Because they understood, oh, no. You can't just get any bass player if you want that feeling. That exists in that person's body in their hands. And so we need to call them in. And, they show up to these studio sessions with teenagers. Outkast at this time are teenagers. And they're like, what am I doing here? I'm like a 60-year-old jazz guy. Like, why do you want me here? And they're like, because you played this record. You played on this record. And we love you.
That's a beautiful.
So anyway,
That's beautiful.
So I did learn about the importance of knowing the history.
We're going to play Islands off the new record.
Dope.
Look, what's left if just a few can't afford a roof? Just a landlord or two with their mortgage due. If the schools are too poor to support the youth, no art, no sports to do, just portables. If journalists aren't brave, so they distort the truth.
A song inspired by a concept, a book that a friend of mine told me about. Friend Alexa Gilmore, who's actually a member of provincial parliament now, told me about this book, this concept called Islands of Sanity. And what I think it's about is communities, small communities that practice compassion and care and creativity in ways that are maybe unheralded, maybe unknown, very unsung, but in any case, they're positive. And in any case, they predict a better future. So specifically, these are communities that are doing this work of caring and being creative in times of crisis, times of tumult, like we're living in right now. And who knows what that will all lead to, all this crisis, all this tension. But on the other side of it, there's something that these communities predict in terms of what the better way forward is, what's possible on the other side. So it felt very related to this idea of Start Anew, this idea of like, yeah, what might happen if we have the courage to take a step in a different direction.
If there is an ending,
Yeah.
what a new beginning could possibly be.
Exactly. Well put.
Lovely to talk to you.
Always great. You really Nardward. You went crazy. That was awesome. Thank you, Tom.